What would haunt you more for the rest of your life? Disobeying an order or obeying one you knew was wrong? I'm Dr. Sharma, physician, board-certified psychiatrist, and Air Force veteran. Let me start with a story. During the Vietnam War, a U.S. Army helicopter pilot named Dennis Avery was ordered to open fire on a village below him. From the air, he could clearly see the people on the ground. They weren't armed. They weren't attacking anyone. They were civilians. And in that moment, Avery understood something instantly and viscerally. If he followed that order, he would be killing innocent people. He also understood something else. If he didn't follow the order, there could be serious consequences for his career and possibly his freedom. Dennis Avery refused to fire. That decision saved lives, but just as importantly, it saved him from carrying something that never really goes away. And that's what I want to talk about today. Not just unlawful orders themselves, but the psychological damage they cause, especially to young troops who are the ones forced to carry them out. And I want to remind you, this is not a political video. It's not about left versus right. Some of this information on unlawful orders has been in the media, and it's certainly relevant. But this is more about the impacts unlawful orders have on the minds of our military service members. Most people understand physical injuries in war. It makes sense. Some understand PTSD from fear and trauma. But there's another category of injury that doesn't get talked about enough: moral injury. Moral injury happens when someone is forced to do or witness something that violates their deeply held values. It's not about fear necessarily, it's about betrayal of the self. And unlawful orders are one of the most powerful ways that moral injury occurs. Imagine being 19 or 20 years old or younger. You've been trained your entire military life to obey orders. You're taught that hesitation can get people killed. You're taught to trust your leadership. Now imagine realizing, often in real time, that what you're being told to do is wrong. Not tactically wrong, not this might go badly wrong, but morally and legally wrong. This creates what's called cognitive dissonance, a psychological collision between two truths. I am a good person who believes in right and wrong, and I'm being ordered to do something I know is wrong. When that tension can't be resolved, something has to give. And very often, what gives is the person. Junior enlisted troops are the ones closest to the consequences. They're the ones pulling triggers, they're the ones kicking in doors, they're the ones standing face to face with civilians. Now, I know officers are also in the mix. I'm not diminishing that, don't get me wrong, especially junior officers. But certainly the vast majority are junior enlisted. And they are also the least empowered to question authority. When unlawful orders come down, the psychological math in their heads is brutal. If I obey, I violate my morals. If I refuse, I risk punishment, humiliation, or worse. Many people follow the order, not because they're immoral, but because the system is designed to reward obedience and punish hesitation. And years later, when the uniform is off and the adrenaline is gone, that memory doesn't fade. Instead, it turns inward. This is where you can see things like chronic guilt, shame, self-hatred, depression, substance use, self-harm thoughts. Not because they were weak, but because they were put into an impossible position. Dennis Avery understood this instinctively. He knew that pulling that trigger wouldn't just kill civilians, it would kill a part of himself. Now, before you say that this doesn't happen, at this point, I've worked with hundreds of veterans, and I have heard dozens of stories of veterans being given clearly unlawful orders when they were still in the military. I'm talking about orders that led to significant suffering and loss of life. Now, I can't specifically give examples as they would identify the person or even the unit, and I would never violate anyone's privacy. But I can say that these actions led to the veterans having significant psychological symptoms, including PTSD. Legally, we know that just following orders is not a defense for unlawful acts. But psychologically, many troops hope it will protect them, but it doesn't. The human brain does not offload responsibility just because someone higher ranking gave the command. The conscience doesn't care about rank. Years later, the mind doesn't replay, hey, my commander told me to do it. It replays, I did this. And that's why moral injury is often quieter than PTSD, but more corrosive. It attacks the identity. Am I a good person? What does this say about me? How do I live with this? Dennis Avery didn't have to ask those questions about that moment because he made a decision he could live with. Many others, though, were not given that chance. This is where I want to speak directly to officers and leaders. I was trained as an officer in the Air Force. From day one, we were taught that authority comes with responsibility, not just power. Officers are not just tactical decision makers. They are actually moral buffers between chaos and the people below them. Every unlawful order doesn't just risk legal consequences, it exports moral injury downwards. When an officer gives an unlawful order, they certainly have to live with the consequences themselves, but there can be a degree of separation. But for the young troop executing the order, they are seeing the aftermath firsthand. And I recognize that for the officer giving that unlawful order, it came from somewhere higher up as well. There is a cascade of decisions that began from the top. I'm not disregarding that. But the psychological injury for those junior enlisted, those young people, the junior officers, that may follow them for decades. We swear an oath not to a person, but to the Constitution. That oath exists precisely for moments when obedience and morality diverge. Dennis Avery wasn't an officer giving the order, he was a pilot being given one. But imagine if the officer above him had paused, if they had asked, is this ethical? Is this lawful? Is this something my troops will have to carry forever? That pause could save countless people on both sides. Unlawful orders don't just damage missions or reputations. They break trust in leadership, create lifelong psychological wounds, destroy the moral core of units, follow veterans home long after the war ends, and not to mention betray the hearts and minds of civilians on the ground. As a psychiatrist, I can tell you plainly, some of the deepest suffering I see in veterans has nothing to do with fear and everything to do with regret. So here's the message I want to leave you with. I'm simply echoing what Dennis Avery said in his interview about this incident. To officers and leaders, know the law. Know the weight your orders place on the minds of those below you. Never outsource moral injury to your troops. Dennis Avery made a choice that day in Vietnam. It wasn't easy, but it was right. And decades later, that decision still matters, not just as history, but as a reminder about our responsibilities as service members. Let me know your thoughts on this topic in the comments. As always, I want to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, you might like the episode I did on whether veterans signed up for the mistreatment they received during service. Click over here to check it out. Also, click over here to subscribe if you haven't already done so. I want to thank you for joining me for this episode, taking time out of your day to spend it listening to me. That really means a lot. And please like and comment, that stuff really helps the channel. As always, thanks for watching. Dr. Sharma signing off. See you next time.